Alright, sorry about that. So we can have two groups of 4 go into 8, because 4 times 2 is 8. So we took out two groups, and we can have 3 groups of 4 go into 12. So our 3 groups is y cubed. And this says that anything that isn't x squared, or x to the 4th, or x to the 6th, and so on, needs an absolute value bar. So we have x squared, which we're going to leave alone. And since we have y to the 3rd, that's going to need absolute value bars around it. So, if we have the square root of a negative number, so the square root, that's where we get our I radical the number. And if we have like the cube root or the 5th root, an odd root of a negative number, we're going to take the negative out and still have that odd root of the number. So for example, if we have 3 square root of negative 40, well, since this is square root, this is where we're going to have I. So we have 3, and that square root of the negative gives you the I, radical 40. And off to this side, we can simplify 40 to 10 and 4. And 10 can be split into 5 and 2. And 4 can be split into 2 and 2. So we have our pair. So we have 3i, and inside our square root, we have 2, and we have 3 2's. So it's 2 cubed times whatever's left over, which is 5. So we have 3i, and we can have our index right here is really a 2. Even though we don't write it the square root, the index is 2. So we can have one group of 2 go into 3. So we can take 1, 2 out, because that's our one group. And if we have one group of 2 go into 3, we have 1 left over. So we have 1, 2 left over times 5. And if we were to simplify that, 3i times 2 is 6i. Radical 2 times 5 is 10. So 6i radical 10. So we had the square root of a negative, which gave us an I. If we have 6 times the cube root of negative 270. So this is when our index right here is odd. So this is when we're going to take our negative out in front. So this negative we're going to bring out in front to have negative 6, and we still have the cube root of 270. So negative 6, the cube root, 270, if you were to factor that out, can be rewritten as 2 times 3 cubed times 5. So we have negative 6. Okay, this is really 2 to the 1, so 0 groups of 3 can go into 1. So 2 is going to stay on the inside. We have 3 cubed. Well, one group of 3 can go into 3, so we can bring a 3 out. And we still have the cube root of 2 times 5 to the 1. 0 groups of 3 can go into 1, so 5 stays on the inside. So if you simplify that, negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. And we have the cube root of 2 times 5, which is 10. Alright, just a few more. Promise, we're almost done. Alright, so if we have something that says solve the equation. Our first example, if we have x squared equals 49. Well, we know if we have x squared equals 49, to get x, we have to take the square root of both sides. the square root of x squared is x, and that equals the square root of 49 is 7 squared.